Shri Krishna Sharanam Baba. 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 Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you are muted.
Oh, sorry. I was talking on mute. Welcome all Prabhujis, Matajis in today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll start with chapter 6, which is further inquiries by Srila Vyasadeva.
Shri Krishna Sharanam
Hare Krishna.
Baba. Shri Krishna Sharanam.
Hare Krishna. Is everyone able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. We can hear.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So today's chapter deals with further inquiries by Srila Vyasadeva unto Sri Narada Muni. However, before we delve into this, there is a very important announcement. I don't know how many of this particular group of devotees were able to attend the general meeting of the entire devotee congregation of ISKCON Mangalore that was called upon by His Grace Namanishta Prabhuji a couple of days back. So there is a very important announcement. We'll quickly cover that. The news that we all have been awaiting for so eagerly for very long, which is the exact inauguration date of Sri Radha Govinda temple, has been finalized, and the auspicious tithi that has been agreed upon by His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami Maharaj is on Balaram Jayanti, which falls on 19th of August 2024. So there is a complete brochure that has been published by the temple. So we'll just quickly go through that. So as with any major function to celebrate, the devotion to Lord Krishna, we have many service opportunities during this temple opening ceremony, including both, like as Namanishta Prabhuji mentioned, Praner, Arther, Diya, Vacha. One can contribute in terms of one's time, one's service, personal involvement in this temple opening program, as well as Praner, Arther, as well as we can also contribute by engaging Lakshmi ji in the service of Lord Narayan, Lord Sri Radha Govinda Dev ji. So there are many sponsorship opportunities that are available, right from very big up to a very small level. And Prabhuji has specifically encouraged all of us to also try and contribute as a group. So probably in a single person's capacity, we would be able to give only a little bit, which is totally fine. But as a group, we can definitely contribute something significant. So we'll be sharing this brochure in the Bhakti Vaibhav WhatsApp group. But just to quickly walk through this, we have the marble service for the temple floor, and this specific temple hall decoration seva is being overseen by a group of specialized devotees who have earlier done this temple hall decoration for various magnanimous temples which have recently come up. So this specific temple hall that you see in the picture is the photo from ISKCON NVCC from Pune, which was inaugurated by the then president Pranav Mukherjee in 2012. So very beautiful temple hall, and the same devotee team will also be working on designing and decorating the temple hall for Sri Radha Govinda ji. Gauranga, Gaur Sri Radha Krishna, Radha Govinda. That is how the deities will be, Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Sri Radha Govinda Dev. So the sponsorship for this seva is quite high, but we can still understand and consider what is feasible. Then DT Kitchen, yes, this is also an important sponsorship service. There are total 4 kitchens which will be built and developed in ISKCON Mangalore community. One is for the day-to-day devotees, the programs, the congregation. One is for the temple restaurant, one is for the deities, and one is for the Annadan service, the food for life, and so on and so forth for the community prasadam distribution. So for this deity kitchen, the sponsorship price tag is 11 lakhs. This also we can consider. Plus there are a total 2 lifts, the elevators that will be set up, and the cost of each of these elevators is again rupees 11 lakhs. And don't get overwhelmed by these amounts. Let's see what we can devote at an individual capacity, and as a group of the Bhakti Vaibhav devotees, we can also commit accordingly based on whatever is our individual commitment. Combined together, we can come up for this group as well. Then Srila Prabhupada altar service, this specific altar service sponsorship cost is rupees 10 lakhs. Then we have generator seva, so generators for the temple. And we also have the marble seva is one that we saw initially, but the decorative art on the marble, it also costs separate, but it looks very, very beautiful. And as Prabhuji mentioned, what design we see in the NVCC temple is just one type of setup, but the devotee team, which is overseeing the temple hall decoration at ISKCON Mangalore, they have proposed a much more intricate and beautiful design as well. So it also costs expensive, and the cost for this seva will be around 10 lakhs. Then for guest house room sponsorship, this is a very attractive scheme that the temple has come up with, where we can sponsor construction of a room, and that room in turn will be reserved for the donor for a period of 30 days every calendar year. So we can also go stay there, experience the temple atmosphere, attend temple programs, perform service in the association of devotees, and this facility will be available lifelong by booking in advance 30 days per calendar year. So I personally feel this is a very, very attractive and viable service for many of us. We can definitely consider it. Even if you consider from the point of view of giving a spiritual experience to the family, where we get to stay in the temple premises, attend programs 24/7, and family also feels enlivened. And many of these rooms have already been sponsored. So if we intend to take this service, then we have to act fast before all the rooms are over. Then for the marble railings for the temple hall staircase, the team has come up with a beautiful design. The Prabhuji called it round bottle design of the decorative items for the marble staircase. And the sponsorship for this will be rupees 5 lakhs. Then there are total, I think Prabhuji mentioned 2 chandeliers, each costing about rupees 5 lakhs each. The CCTV service for overall security, which again cost rupees 5 lakhs. And as all of us know that Namanishta Prabhu's vision for developing ISKCON Mangalore is as a spiritual education center. So as a in view of that, we are also having a large auditorium hall for conducting various educational program, devotional educational programs. And the projector, just the projector for this auditorium, the sponsorship cost is around 5 lakhs. And chairs will cost a similar amount. Then the DT dresses for Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Sri Sri Radha Govinda Devji, each set of dress across these 3 DTs cost around rupees 3 lakhs. And don't be surprised by the amount, because these dresses are made of very heavy embroidery as well as other decorative items. So even now, if we consider, and that was few years back, actually not even now, when His Grace Jananivas Prabhu was asked about the cost of dresses of the deities in Mayapur, he had also mentioned the cost of around rupees 200,000, 2 lakhs that time. So definitely these items do go expensive. So the one set of dresses across the deities will cost around 3 lakhs. And deity altar door service, it costs, the sponsorship cost is around rupees 3 lakhs. And puja room service, that means building of the DT puja room, the room in which the DT worship paraphernalia are set up, it will be around rupees 3 lakhs. Then the staircase to the main temple hall, which has been named very beautifully, Pada Sevanam, which is one of the items of the Navavidha Bhakti, it would cost rupees 3 lakhs. And the beds for the deities, as I had mentioned in our earlier last discussion, for each temple, we have a very specific Shayana Arati Seva for the deities, where the deities are put to rest with a proper ritual, including offering of the items, specific prayers that need to be offered. So we will have a Shayana room for the deities to take rest, and the sponsorship cost for this room will be rupees 3 lakhs. And to be honest, in today's day and age, sponsorship cost for one room at rupees 3 lakh is extremely reasonable, because all the construction materials come very expensive now. The Palaki Seva, where the Utsav Murtis for Shri Radha Govinda Ji, Srila Prabhupada will be taken on procession. So this Seva sponsorship cost is around rupees 2 lakhs. And the doorkeepers to Lord Shri Jai and Vijay. So each of them, the DT cost around rupees 2 lakhs. So all of you can go through these details. Prabhuji has come up with a very extensive planning to build a magnanimous temple, both for the pleasure of their lordships, as well as to keep all of us inspired and to attract so many people from outside to come and take shelter of Shri Radha Govinda Ji. So we request all of us to spend some time thinking how we can contribute. This is just contribution in terms of Lakshmi. But apart from that, we also are expecting a huge crowd of thousands and thousands of people on the day of inauguration. So there will be many services. How many departments Aishwarya Subhadra Mataji Prabhuji mentioned? 40 or 30? Do you recollect? Or any other, Devika Mataji, you recollect how many departments Prabhuji mentioned?
Not exactly, Prabhu.
Oh,
But there are many, Prabhu.
Yeah, there are many. I believe it was 30 or 40 number, but
No,
there
actually, it is 36 departments.
36. Yes, thank you, Mataji. So we even require devotees to contribute in terms of their time and effort to block their calendars for August 19th. And it is not just one day, but block their calendars a period of time before this date and probably few days after this to settle everything. So please give a thought over this and plan whether I can commit 1 week, I can commit a fortnight, any amount of Lakshmi I can commit towards all these services. And probably we would nominate a devotee from our group who all the devotees can submit their commitments to, so that we have a complete picture for the group, how much we can commit as a one group. And this is just a suggestion, not a compulsion, but it will act as a lot of purification for our own spiritual advancement, for whatever His Grace Namanishta Prabhuji and overall devotee community have contributed towards us over last few years. And apart from this, in the temple, the paintings that have been planned for the temple hall decoration inside as well as outside, they are all 3D paintings. That means, let me see if, yeah, let's see this. This is a painting of Krishna Kaliya pastime, on which Lord Krishna is actually coming out of the painting. That is the 3D paint. So it is not just a painting, it's a painting come diorama. So it costs very expensive, but looks very beautiful as well. So, and personally, I've seen in few temples, but not as extensive and as beautiful as this. So this is really going to attract thousands and thousands of souls to come and take up to Krishna consciousness. Yes, see this as well. Shri Gaur Nitai, painting come diorama. So we see Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arms as well as their transcendental bodies actually coming out of the painting and in a 3D form. So this is very, very attractive. Hare Krishna. So with this, we will start our Bhakti Vaibhav session with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtapraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So before we start, just one particular point on the announcement we just made. Prem Prakash Haridas Prabhuji, if you are comfortable, you can be the coordinator who we submit all our own commitments. Is that all right, Prabhuji? If your schedule permits and if you are comfortable.
Yes, Prabhuji, no problem. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay. So last chapter, we saw Narada Muni visiting Srila Vyasadeva, seeing his students' despondent situation and very lovingly giving encouragement to Vyasadeva that as soon as Narada Muni arrived, he had a smiling face towards Srila Vyasadeva. And that smile of Sri Narada Muni was to assure his disciple that don't worry, I understand the cause of your despondency and I know the reason as well as I have a solution, workaround solution. And subsequently, we do see when Narad Muni started critically analyzing, assessing the compositions by Srila Vyasadeva, he primarily came up with the two issues with Vyasadeva's compilation. And what were these two issues? What were the two critical points which Narad Muni assessed in Vyasadeva's writing so far? Hare Krishna.
The writings lack.
Sorry, Mataji, one by one, please raise hand so we can ask. Devika Mataji, Hare Krishna.
The lacking of the glorification of the Lord.
Yes. So
And
more than
devotion of
lacking,
service.
yeah, it was the glorification was not done in a anuvarnitam, in a repeated glorification. Sufficient level of glorification was not done. Although it was done in some corner of his writings and it did not come out prominently. And what was the second point?
Yeah. may I answer, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prem Priya, Jai
Yeah.
Shri Mataji.
He had recommended religious performances, which involved fruitive activities. And that was really against the, they actually encouraging people who wanted to enjoy more, to enjoy actually unlimitedly. That was it.
Yes,
Like
thank you.
example, killing of the animals, the name of sacrifice.
Thank you,
Many more.
Mataji.
Thank you.
So
Prabhu.
the 4 Purusharthas, they came out prominently. Shama Gopika Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Srila Vyasadeva has, glorified Supreme Lord as a means of attaining moksha, which is
Right.
the part of 4 Purusharthas.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then, actually, he should have been glorified as a means to transcend these 4 Purusharthas.
Yes, so exclusive glorification of the pure devotional service of Lord Krishna did not come out prominently through Srila Vyasadev's writing so far, and this was mentioned as the critical reason by Narada Muni why Vyasadeva was still having dissatisfaction. So we will maybe have one more devotee, Prem Prakash Haridas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Basically, Vyasadeva had been a compiler, and so he compiled several methods of reaching Lord Krishna. Some of them were very difficult, and it also misled to a conclusion at places that dharma, artha, kam, and moksha is actually the goal of
Human
to
life.
achieve. Whereas, in fact, Narada Muni said that dharma, artha, kam, and moksha are to be transcended to reach the liberation or perfection of the life. So these has to be clarified with the glorification of the Lord.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prem Prakash Haridas Prabhuji. And then subsequently we saw how Narada Muni gave example to Srila Vyasadeva through his own life, how such exclusive glorification of the Lord received through the potency of association of the pure devotees of the Lord, it can cause complete transformation in the life of a person. And he gave his own example of transformation from being the son of an ordinary maid servant, getting the association of the Bhakti Vedantas, serving them, accepting the Uchishta, accepting the Mahaprasad, the food that was the prasadam that was honored by the Bhakti Vedantas, and hearing from them about Lord Krishna, about pure devotional service. And subsequently, the Bhakti Vedantas.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji.
Prabhu, can I just add, there are 2 specific points
Yes,
Narada
Prabhuji.
Muni has said.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Vyasadeva has described the transcendental realization in different ways, like fruitive activities, mystic powers, and devotional service, etc. And the other thing he has specifically pointed out is he has recommended the worship of various demigods in various forms and names. These are the specific problems mentioned in one of the slokas in the beginning of chapter 5.
Thank you, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji. So coming back to Narada Muni explaining his own example, now the Bhakti Vedantas have departed from that place after staying there where Narada Muni and his mother were residing in the jungle for the Chaturmasya period. And Srila Vyasadeva is very inquisitive to know what happens next, because it is specifically mentioned that the real Srimad Bhagavatam class begins after the class has already ended. Can anyone explain this statement? How this can be understood? That the real Bhagavatam class begins after the class has ended. What does it mean? Any devotee wants to try? Murli Kari Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we are not able to hear you. Adidev Gopesh Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Adidev Prabhu, please unmute yourself. I don't know whether it is me who can't hear. Others are able
No,
to
Prabhu, we
hear.
are not able to hear. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah, Rasaragini Mataji. Yes, Mataji, you continue.
Okay, Prabhu, can you make me the co-host as well? So basically,
sure.
thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So basically, the Bhagavatam class, whatever we hear is just listening, and it's at the first level, which is hearing Shravanam. But actual Bhagavatam is implementing it, right? So Vijnanam. So Jnanam we will get by listening, but Vijnanam is practical or scientific application of that is more important. This is my understanding, Prabhu. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you. Thank you, Rasaragini Mataji. Maybe we'll have one more devotee. Devika Mataji wanted to share something. You raised your hand also. Or did I mistake?
No, I didn't raise my hand.
Okay. So, Adidev Prabhu, are you able to unmute now? I'm not sure. All right. Some issue, it seems, Prabhuji, your side. So, whatever we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam class, the main important aspect is how we apply it in our own life. If we don't do that, then the knowledge remains theoretical. Say, for example, a student takes admission to MBBS program and he comes out with flying colors in terms of the theory subjects. We can't consider him a doctor, qualified doctor just as yet. Why? Because the person has not gone through the apprenticeship, which is again a extensive 1.5 years program, where the person has to actually deploy that knowledge, whatever he has learned in the classroom, under the expert guidance and supervision of a senior surgeon. So similarly, Srila Vyasadeva is very eager to know what did Narada Muni do after gaining all this knowledge about pure devotional service and after gaining the realizations by serving the Bhaktivedantas, accepting their remnants. What did Narada Muni do after their departure? That is Srila Vyasadeva's inquiry, and which is very, very important and practical for all of us. So the summary breakdown of this particular chapter, we see in the first 4 verses, Srila Vyasadeva inquiring further about Narada Muni's life, what happened after the Bhaktivedantas departed. Then Narada Muni speaks how apparently there was a special arrangement by Lord Krishna where his only shelter in his life as a 5-year-old boy, his own mother, she departed, she died because of a very special circumstance. We'll go through that. Then subsequent to the mother's departure, how did Narad Muni further progress? Did he really give up everything? Did he break down or did he blame the Lord? What was his experience subsequent to the mother's departure? And how Narada Muni subsequently got the teachings of Bhaktivedantas into action and subsequently achieved success in his spiritual pursuit. How he achieved the personal vision of the Lord. And what Lord instructed Narada Muni, is it that he got the vision and the life was all hunky-dory later on? Not at all. Lord specifically instructed Narada Muni to complete certain more part of the tapasya in this life and how he concluded his own life and gained the specific position what we see Narada Muni today in as a Trikalagya, as a devotee who has the free visa to go to any part of the manifestation. Spiritual world, within cosmic manifestation, he can go to higher planetary systems, earthly planetary system, lower planetary system, anywhere Narad Muni has a complete free hand to go and visit, spreading the glories of the Lord. And how Narada Muni achieved that stage of complete perfection. So this is a very inspiring chapter and one of the last chapters in this inspiring story about Narad Muni's own life, which is very encouraging and instructive for all of us. And after Narad Muni described about his own perfection in life, what was his conclusion, what was his departing instructions to Srila Vyasadeva before he left, and similar to how Narad Muni brought into action what he learned from Bhaktivedantas, we will also see how Srila Vyasadeva brought into action whatever Narad Muni taught after Narad Muni's departure. So let us start with the first verse. 1 second, lots of windows that are open now. Any devotee wants to recite the verse, those who have not recited at all, Gita Pradeep Mataji, Hare Krishna. And if all of you are in a comfortable setup, I would request you to keep the video on so that the communication is more personal. Okay? Or if you want to take a minute or two to be ready, that is fine also. But it will be very nice for all devotees to keep the video on, similar to what we had yesterday during the exam. Gita Pradeep Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Text 6.1. Suta uvacha
Suta
Suta
Uvacha.
Uvacha
evam nishamya bhagavan
Evam Nishamya Bhagavan
devarsir janma karma cha
Devashir Janma Karma Cha
bhuyaha paparchatham brahman
Bhuya Paprachatam Brahman
vyasa satyavati sutaha.
Vyasa
Satyavati Sutaha.
Translation.
Translation. Suta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Hare Krishna.
And first line of the purport.
Vyasadeva was further inquisitive to know about the perfection of Naradaji, and therefore he wanted to know about him more and more.
Thank you, ma'am. So we will discuss this specific verse in conjunction with the second verse also. So maybe we recite through this and then we discuss. We need one more devotee. Hare Krishna. So devotees can keep their hand on, those who would like to recite. Hare Shama Gopika Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Which one?
Second verse, 6.2. What you see on the screen?
Vyasa Uvacha
Vyasa
Vyasa
Uvacha
Uvacha
Vikshubhir Vipravasite
Bhikshubhi Vasite
Vijnana Deshribhistava
Vijnana Deshtubhe
Vartamano Vayasyadye
Vartamano Vayasyade
Tata Kim Akarod Bhavan.
Tata
Kim
Kim
Akarod
Akarod Bhavan. Translation.
Translation. Sri Vyasadeva said, what did you, Narada, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?
Purport.
Purport. Vyasadeva himself was the disciple of Narada ji, and therefore it was natural to be anxious to hear what Narada did after initiation from the spiritual masters. He wanted to follow in Narada's footsteps in order to attain to the same perfect stage of life. This desire to inquire from the spiritual master is an essential factor to the progressive path. This process is technically known as Shad Dharma Pricha.
Thank you, Madam. So this is the purport for text 2. So here we see that Srila Vyasadeva, playing the part of a perfect disciple, he is very anxious, very eager to know more about his spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport about a very important concept of Shat Dharma Prucha. Oops. So Shat Dharma Prucha, Srila Prabhupada mentions that specifically is an inquiry or eagerness by the disciple to understand more about the pure representative of the Lord, the spiritual master. And why does the disciple want to understand about spiritual master? The reason is mentioned here. What is that reason? Yes, Prabhuji's, Mataji's.
To follow
attain the same perfect state of life.
Sorry, come again.
To attain the same perfect stage of life.
Yes, that is the goal, to attain the same perfect stage of life. But how to attain that? By following the footsteps. So by learning, like typically we see even in our day-to-day material life, a child, when it grows, our own words, our own instructions don't have as much impact on the child, as much impact our actions, whatever the child observes. I recollect when my daughter Karnamrita was young, when we asked her to brush her own teeth when she was growing up, she used to stand beside me while I am brushing my teeth, and the way I would move the brush to the left, she would also move to the left. So consciously, subconsciously, we all follow whoever is our immediate authority and try to follow their footsteps. So similarly, it is but natural for a disciple to derive inspiration from our own spiritual master and try to follow their footsteps. Say, for example, even in our ISKCON institution, we can see so many devotees, they are inspired by the different aspects of their spiritual masters. Say, for example, many disciples of Loknath Swami Maharaj, you will find them singing so beautifully because Maharaj is very dedicated to Harinam and spreading Harinam. Similarly, many disciples of His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami Maharaj, you will find that they're taking up this concept of Bhakti Vraksha in so many difficult parts of the world, including Middle East and all, to facilitate spreading of the Krishna consciousness mission. Why? Because spiritual master's mood, it is very natural for a disciple to inherit that mood. And that inheriting the mood of the spiritual master, it happens when the disciple hears more and more about the activities, about the life of the spiritual master, and then gradually becomes inspired to mold one's life in a similar manner. So Srila Vyasadeva here is very eager to hear about what Narada Muni, how did he lead his life after the departure of the Bhaktivedantas, these great souls. And there are so many examples in the scriptures about this Shat Dharma Prucha. Specifically in the first picture that is shown here is Srila Prabhupada hearing from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we have, through the course of Bhakti Shastri, we have heard about several episodes of how Srila Prabhupada was always eager to hear from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And not only that, Prabhupada used to go to the Gaudiya Mutt and ask the devotees, what is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur doing? How does he do this particular activity? How does he conduct this particular program? How does he get ready for the program? How does he apply tilak? Some parts of this we also get a glimpse in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrut, where in volume 2 of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrut, Srila Prabhupada tells the devotees, his own students, his own disciples, how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to apply tilak without even looking into the mirror. And then devotees would very curiously ask, did that tilak used to come out properly even without Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur looking into the mirror? So the devotees, it is quite natural for them to know about the nitty-gritties of how the spiritual master conducts his own life and derive inspiration, derive different lessons for their own spiritual conduct. Similarly, we also see in the life of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, there are so many times Ishta Goshti program, even on special occasions during the year, like whenever there is Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja day, which is just next day to Janmashtami, or Srila Prabhupada's departure, which comes in around mid-November, we see that the disciples can go on about recollecting their interactions with the spiritual master for hours together, for days together, and still not feel tired. Why? Because those recollections about the actions of the spiritual master gives many inspirations plus many lessons about how we should lead our own life. And the third example I have shown here is that of the classmates of Prahlad Maharaj, who were in a way being inspired by Prahlad Maharaj in their own spiritual journey. They asking about Prahlad. There is a nice description in 7th canto where the classmates ask Prahlad Maharaj that, Prahlad, how is it that you are our classmate? You from very beginning of your life have attended the same school as us. That is the school of the sons of Shukracharya, Shanda and Amartya. And you are born of a Asura, you are born of a demoniac father. So everything between you and us is quite similar in terms of the background setup. But the difference is that how is it that you know so many things about Krishna, how you know so many things about devotion to Krishna, but we are not aware of that. Although both of us, we have grown up in a similar setup. So can you tell us how do you know about Krishna? And then Prahlad Maharaj glorifies his own spiritual master. How he saved him from hellish life. Of course, Prahlad Maharaj can say that. We cannot say because we know Prahlad Maharaj is a Mahabhagwat devotee from a very birth, even before his birth. So Prahlad Maharaj expresses his gratitude to Narada Muni, how Narada Muni saved his life by instructing him about Lord Krishna while Prahlad Maharaj was still a child within the womb of his mother. So this is called Sadharma Prucha. Sadharma Prucha means actively inquiring about one's spiritual master to derive inspiration and lessons in one's own spiritual life. Any questions, comments, Prabhuji here? Hare Krishna. Shloka Prabhu Mataji, Hare Krishna. I don't know. Can you identify yourself? Are you a regular attendant of this program, Shloka Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, Namita Mataji is renamed as Shloka, I think, by mistake.
Oh, okay. So
Right.
you can rename Namita Mataji. So it's
I'll do that, Prabhu. I'll rename it.
Sure.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sorry, Prabhuji, I'll rename.
No problem. Any questions, comments on this particular aspect of Shat Dharma Prucha? How a disciple, it is very natural for him or her to hear more about the spiritual master and his life, spiritual master's life. I see. Okay, noted. Murli Kari Prabhuji. Vipin Vilas Prabhuji, noted on this. Please also ping about the same service details to Prema Prakash Haridas Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So the fourth example is mentioned about Maharaj Rahugan. We see in the interaction between Jadabharat and Maharaj Rahugan, when Jadabharat was brought in as a dumb, quiet person by the servants of Maharaj Rahugan to carry the palanquin in which Maharaj Rahugan was sitting, because one of the servants had got injured and not in a position to carry the palanquin. Firstly, Rahugan considered Jadabharat to be an ordinary person, just brought in, who was meant to serve the king. But when it so happened that Jadabharat was stopping in between to save the ants and other creatures crossing the road, Rahugan was feeling the jerks in the palanquin and feeling not comfortable at all. And subsequently, Rahugan Maharaj became very harsh with Jadabharat, chastising him and with a very derogatory language, putting him down that you are just a ordinary dumb person, not even good for the simple service of carrying the palanquin, and you will be punished very heavily. And then when Jadabharat starts speaking and talks about the philosophy of the soul and mentions to Maharaj Rahugan that, my dear sir, whatever you are telling is true, that I am not fit to carry you, because neither you are a king nor am I a servant, and nor these ants and other living entities, they are different. He explains the philosophy of the soul and the body, and hearing these words of wisdom from Maharaj Jadabharat, Rahugan understands his mistake, falls prostrated before Jadabharat and begs forgiveness, and subsequently inquires from Jadabharat about his own life, that who are you, where have you come from, where are you going, what is your mission, and so on. And after enlivening Maharaj Rahugan, Jadabharat subsequently continues his journey as a Avadhuta. So even in this episode, we see that Maharaj Rahugan, when he came to know about the exalted spiritual position of Jadabharat, he also inquired in detail about him and extensively begged forgiveness for his misconduct. Hare Krishna. Dhanya Dameshwari Mataji wanted to share something.
No, Prabhu, for a recitation,
Sure. Sure. Okay, recitation I will ask. Any other devotees have any questions, comment on this particular concept?
Prabhu,
of
I have a
Sh-
doubt actually.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
understood the concept, what you explained, but what I could not follow is Saddharma Pracha means like role model. Is that the meaning word to word of that?
Shadharma, let's go to the Prabhupada has not given the exact meaning, but Sadharma Pracha he translates as desire to inquire from spiritual master. That is Sadharma Pracha.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Okay. Generally, the word Sat is used to describe something which is beyond. So the topmost,
eternal.
topmost conduct, the inquiry about the topmost conduct by the disciple to the spiritual master in general to understand.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And yes, one more example I left out. Even Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman inquiring from Vishwamitra Muni about his own life. And this is a very instructive example, last one. In general, sometimes people, they try to remember a personality for all wrong reasons without remembering the great spiritual position they have attained in life. As there is a famous saying in English, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So we should never judge a saint from whatever, that point also we will discuss extensively in upcoming slides, based on whatever that saintly person has encountered in his or her life in the past before he or she attained the exalted position in devotional service. So the famous thing which people know about Vishwamitra is he getting distracted because of Menaka, Ramba, and not able to control his anger, subsequently punishing them, so on and so forth, and his apparent temporary fall down. But what people many a time don't recollect, that same Vishwamitra, subsequently he became such a wonderful person, devotee of the Lord, that whose shelter was accepted by Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman as well. And same Vishwamitra is also the person who composed this Venkatesh Suprabhatam as a form of prayer. So we should definitely know about these devotees' spiritual stature so that we don't minimize their importance. So these are few examples of Shadharma Prucha, a disciple eager to know about more about his spiritual master so as to feel encouraged and follow in his footsteps. So then the next question comes on this topic of, in general, we being very defensive when it comes to our own shortcomings, our own mistakes done in our life. So we have a group activity here before we proceed to the next part of the chapter, which is how we become defensive about our own mistakes as soon as it is brought out, even if it is a small one. Say, for example, not only in our day-to-day family life, material life, but even in devotional circles. And subsequently, the outcome of this discussion, we will see in contrast to the behavior of exalted devotees. How do they behave whenever somehow or other their own shortcomings are brought out by Lord Krishna's inconceivable will, and the lesson we can learn from their great lives. So is the group discussion clear, Prabhuji's Mataji? We won't have breakout rooms for this. Breakout room exercise is in the end, but we will have as a classroom discussion. Okay, so now we would request devotees to give a minute to think, how do we act whenever our mistakes or our shortcomings are brought out, and typically what is our mood whenever somebody says, Prabhuji, you are not good in XYZ thing. What is our immediate reaction? Sanjukta Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. What is our immediate reaction if somebody brings out any shortcomings in us?
Suddenly we feel bad, but after that we accept it. At that time we feel bad.
Yes, we feel bad. Okay, and what else we do? We immediately try to
Don't know, Prabhu.
Okay. Oh, no,
That
no
I
problem.
always accept that that will be my mistake. But
Sure, sure. All right, Mataji. Let's hear a few more devotees. Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, we generally, when something like mistakes are found in us, we try to analyze actually whether really we have done this thing in the wrong way or a right way. And then if it is wrong, I think we need to accept it. So that will be my way of doing things, Prabhu.
Yes, that is the ideal way, right way, correct. But in general, at least I can tell about myself. Do I follow? Not at all. What is our general response? Usha Kamat Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we generally try, we become defensive and we try
Defensive.
to justify why
Correct.
we did that wrong. You know?
Yes, we try to justify putting the blame on so many things, including the
Yes.
circumstances, including the background, whatever we had to experience in the past,
Giving excuses. Yeah.
excuses, even putting the other person in a spot that no, usually I am good, but because this person acted with me in this particular way, I acted impulsively. Otherwise, I'm normally very good. Just one time it became an error in judgment, but it doesn't define me. We immediately become defensive. Maybe we'll hear one more. Prema Priya Jayashree Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
I would introspect and reflect, Prabhuji.
Yes, that
Before
is
becoming defensive, as you said, it is an ideal condition. But I feel immediately when something is commented on me, I feel there may be some truth in that. I feel
yes.
so, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you. So that is a proper way of looking at it. That reflect on it. Don't
Sometimes we become
answer.
very conscious, Prabhuji, about our topic, what we are discussing at times.
Yeah, we become very, come again?
Yes, conscious.
Conscious, self-conscious. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mother.
Prabhu, if I may add, I think
Yes.
mine seems to be worse than most of them here. So first thing which comes to me, well, forget how I react, but the first thing which runs in my mind is, oh my God, like a movie, I will think of the other person, how many mistakes came, like a BlackBerry. Immediately that will run like a movie, and then probably I may choose to tell or not. But the first thing which hits my head is this. And I also feel that, boss, I have so many you have done, and I have tolerated, and just one small
Just
thing I've
once.
done, though I may know that is wrong, and you're like sort of reacting and questioning me. I mean, that's the first thing which will hit my head, at least for me.
Right. Thank
Sure.
you, Mataji.
Thank you.
And one
Hare
important
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prem Prakash Haridas Prabhuji.
The other extreme is when someone shows one mistake in oneself, he becomes offensive and shows two mistakes in the other.
Yeah, and then it just becomes like
Then it goes on.
two vehicles both at a high beam driving at night. What would happen likely? There is a collision.
Nice head-on collision.
Head-on collision and casualties. So yes, that we should definitely be careful, especially in the devotee circles. So now, so many of you have brought, have been very candid and honest about how our usual reactions are. And it is also mentioned that there is one advantage of association of devotees. If we admit our own shortcomings in the association of devotees, it is explained that our own faults, they fly away just like the birds fly away when we clap. By admitting our mistake, our own fallacies, shortcomings in the association of devotees, Krishna blesses us to get rid of those shortcomings. So in this backdrop, we are going to see, like we saw in the case of Narada Muni, Narada Muni is not ashamed to talk how he had a very humble and in a way fallen background. We discussed, how many of us remember about we discussing last time, Narad Muni's past life even before becoming the son of a maid servant. We discussed he was a Upabharana, he was a Gandharva, Upabharana, and how there were few mistakes which happened from his side, as a result of which he had to accept the body of a son of a maid servant. So, and we will see, let me come to the next slide. Srimad Bhagavatam, it gives so many such examples about apparent errors in judgments, about apparent mistakes that have been committed by great souls. But first and foremost, what is an important caution for all of us while we discuss this? What should be the mood? what we should be very careful about while understanding these topics? Yes, Prabhuji's, Mataji's.
Prabhuji, Trinadapi Sunichena.
Trunadapi
Once we are,
Sunichena.
yeah, so once we'll, as Mahaprabhu said that, we should not count on our egos, because ego is very much fragile thing and it gets, touched very quickly as and when we are pointed out. So we can take reference from Vyasadeva, who was pointed out by Srila Narad Rishi, but still he did not took it otherwise. Otherwise he could have, always thought that I am such already, doing such a great job. I am at a devotee level, and still Narada Muni is pointing out to me. But he took it very positively and he reflected, he realized his mistake, and so we should take this kind of lesson from our ancestors.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So we should not become judgmental, but we should learn our lessons from these mistakes that are mentioned in the Shastras. Oh, this can happen with such a great devotee of the Lord. So that devotee doesn't become minimized because of that mistake. That mistake has been pointed out in the scripture just for you and me, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, to learn our lesson and advance in our spiritual life. So let us see in this particular context of Narada Muni describing the lessons in his life, are there any other such episodes? So first episode is we saw Narada Muni's past life before being the son of a maidservant. He was a Gandharva. He attended a function arranged by the Prajapatis to glorify the Lord. This comes in the Bhagavatam 7th chapter, 7th canto, I believe 15th chapter. But it is there in the last slide deck that we discussed. Chapter 5. So Narada Muni went along with his female companions, and in the function which was meant to glorify the Lord, he started singing the songs which were of a material relationships between, so like a filmy songs, something similar. And the Prajapatis became very upset that your mentality is that like that of a Shudra, where you don't know the stature of this particular program that has been held specifically to glorify the Lord, but you are singing these materialistic songs, so you better take the birth of a Shudra, be born as a son of a maidservant. And subsequent, so Narad Muni, it is explained that when Shukadev Goswami is explaining this episode to the great personalities, including Maharaj Parikshit, Lord Shiva, Vyasadev, Narada Muni was personally present as well at that place when this episode was being discussed by Shukadev Goswami. But neither did he ask Shukadev Goswami to stop, nor he asked for any editing that remove my portion. I don't want my case to be discussed. He did not feel. Why? We will see why. What is the mood of such great souls in accepting their own fallacies? There is one purpose. Okay, we will come to that after we go through all examples. So this is one example. Another example is of another great devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Chitraketu, who became completely enlivened by the teachings of Angira Muni, Narada Muni, achieved the position of Vidyadhar, and was engaged in total glorification of the Lord. But Chitraketu Maharaj, he did one error in judgment. What was that? What was Chitraketu Maharaj's one small mistake? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, he did a mistake in the lordship of Lord Shiva.
Yes, so basically he judged Lord Shiva and actually wanted to glorify Lord Shiva, but that glorification was put forth in a way that it came out as a judgment. He passed judgment on a senior Vaishnava, which all of us, we should be very careful. Basically, he mentioned who other than Lord Shiva can talk about renunciation while having his wife seated on his own lap. So he wanted to glorify Lord Shiva such, but that glorification came in a way which apparently sounded like a passing judgment on senior Vaishnava. And although Lord Shiva did not mind, Lord Shiva's disciples did not mind, they understood the mood, but Mother Parvati felt offended that how can her husband be judged in that particular manner. And we see after Chitraketu Maharaj got punishment curse from Mother Parvati, Prabhupada clearly mentions in Bhagavatam purport that Chitraketu Maharaj had the spiritual stature to counteract that curse from Mother Parvati. He did not choose that. Immediately he got down from the flying palanquin and he offered his prostrated obeisances to Mother Parvati and begged forgiveness, accepted her curse gratefully, and offered prayers. So we see Chitraketu Maharaj's mistake. Subsequently, he became great devotee Vritrasur, although in a body of a demon, and went back to Godhead. But that particular error in judgment by Maharaj Chitraketu is mentioned also. Similarly, we also see the episode after the churning of the milk ocean, how Lord Shiva desired to see the form of the Lord, Mohini Murti, and when Lord wants to demonstrate something through the example of his devotees, he does it in a most graphic way. So what did Mohini Murti do? She did not just enamor and attract Lord Shiva, she went through all the hermitages of the great sages who were all devotees of Lord Shiva, and Mohini Murti made those sages see that Lord Shiva is attracted by the beauty of Mohini Murti. And Lord Shiva, after the whole episode ends, he does not really lament his own embarrassing, awkward position. He uses that particular pastime to glorify the Lord, that how special my Lord is, that who completely put me in such awkward position. So a devotee's mood, as Ajit Prabhuji rightly mentioned, is never to be defensive or to counteract in any way, but they are very accepting. And we will see at the end, there are two more examples why the devotees are very much accepting and open to their own mistakes being discussed, demonstrated in detail, not just partially. We'll see a couple of more examples. We see the example of Indra, and he is probably one of the personalities in Bhagavatam. So many places you will find Indra getting into awkward situation. Whether it is episode of Prithu Maharaj, Indra being jealous of Prithu Maharaj, completing 100 sacrifice, Ashwamedh sacrifice, and being insecure that Prithu may be doing these sacrifices to achieve my position, and then doing several irreligious ways to stop those sacrifices, and subsequently being very embarrassed, where if not for Brahma's intervention, Indra would have lost his life, with the priest pulling Indra from all directions to fall as a ahuti in that sacrifice. So if not for another pure devotee's intervention, Indra's life would have been threatened. And subsequently, we see how even during the Govardhan Puja, when the Indra Puja was stopped, Indra became so restless, he felt that I am entitled to this worship that was offered by the Brajavasis. And who is this small impudent boy, who, 7-year-old boy, who is not mature at all, and these Brajavasis are heeding to the ask and the decisions made by this small boy. I am going to teach them a lesson. And subsequently, when Indra comes to understand position of Lord Krishna, that this boy is not an ordinary boy, but my supreme worshipable Lord, he falls at Lord Krishna's feet, being accompanied by Surabhi cow and Airavat performing Abhishek for Lord Krishna, and offers various paraphernalia of worship. But it is not mentioned that Indra basically objected to this description being published anywhere. He did not bring a copyright that don't publish this. Like, sometimes the modern influential people do. Whenever something wrong about them gets published, they will try to get a court injunction. And we will see the lesson in a minute. One last example. We also see in the first chapter itself the example of Parikshit Maharaj, which will come in the about the birth and activities of Maharaj Parikshit. It will come subsequently after this episode. How Parikshit Maharaj, although being such a pure devotee of the Lord, and the same Parikshit Maharaj who became restless because of not having food or water for some time, and because of error of judgment, put a dead snake around Shamik Rishi's neck. The same Parikshit, he fasted from food and water for 7 consecutive days and nights and did not feel disturbed even for a moment. So it is not that these personalities, their importance become minimized in any particular manner, but it is the way they accept these special circumstances. Oops, 1 second. It is the way in which they accept these special circumstances in which the Lord puts them. And the reason why devotees accept these awkward situations to be published is for us to advance in spiritual life by learning lessons from them. So very simple, as long as any simple person, any ordinary person is able to learn a positive lesson from these mistakes and be cautious in his or her own spiritual life, advance in their spiritual life, the pure devotees of the Lord, they are more than open to let their past lives be discussed. There is one more example which comes in Leelamrit about Srila Prabhupada discussing with his disciples about his family life. Srila Prabhupada is very open in discussing with his disciples how he was not very happy with the lack of cooperation and support from his wife in his spiritual pursuits. And as a result, one time, Srila Prabhupada in his family life, he also thought whether he should marry a second time. But Srila Prabhupada very frankly mentions to his disciples that his own father, Gaura Mohan De, he stopped Abhay Babu from doing that by saying that it is in a way good, my dear son, that your wife is not cooperative, so that you will not remain attached to the family life. When the right time comes, it will be easier for you to detach yourself from family life and take up to full-time devotional service to Lord Krishna. And how it is also mentioned, one should be satisfied with three things that we receive in our life. One is the wealth that has been granted by the Lord, whatever the material circumstances, not just wealth, whatever the setup. Somebody may have a hut, somebody may have an apartment, somebody may have an villa, somebody may have a farmhouse. But we are not judgmental that Krishna is more merciful to that person compared to me. One should be happy with whatever Krishna has given us. Second, one should be always satisfied with the food that comes by the will of the Lord. One should be very grateful and not complain that as long as the food is offered to Lord Krishna, one should gracefully accept it. And third is one should also be grateful and satisfied with whoever is the spouse that is granted by the Lord. And these principles apply in general. Okay, there can be some exceptions in very extreme cases, but in general they hold true. So even in Srila Prabhupada's case, he immediately agreed for his father's advice and did not pursue that thought of marrying second time. But the point we are trying to explain is the pure devotees. Srila Prabhupada was not embarrassed, revealing that to his disciples, being a sannyasi. Why? Because seeing his life, if his disciples can draw lessons and use those lessons for their own spiritual upliftment, that is the fulfillment. So devotees are not afraid. Any question, comment, Prabhuji's, Mataji's on this particular important lesson? Hare Krishna. We'll take a pause for a minute. Divya, Rukmini, Mataji, any thoughts on this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, as you explained earlier, so if something regarding that, if someone is telling how to be defend something you told, no, that previous slide.
Yes.
So I have some experience. I don't know. So so in our congregational chanting or something, so some of the devotees will come and say, okay, Mataji, your pronunciation is not good. How you are doing that mantra or something, your pronunciation is not good. Try to improve that. But for me, sometimes I feel I'm doing it very perfectly. So, but they are not feeling it. It's the pronunciation is not good. That time we will feel like, so we will hear that one, but in our inner mind, we will think that, no, it's not good. The Mataji is we feel very bad. So how can we overcome that one? So it's not good if we feel in our mind also the bad thing, something bad to other devotees. So how can we overcome that one?
One thing we should know that when we try to surrender to Lord Krishna in our life. Each and every circumstance in the life of a devotee, if we understand as coming by the accord and will of the Lord, then we would learn to be grateful even if that particular circumstance is not so palatable or relishable. So one thing we should understand is, what does my spiritual master and Lord Krishna want to teach me in these particular circumstances, or how I should behave in a way which will be pleasing to Lord Krishna as well as my spiritual master. So if that one particular person has passed a particular comment, firstly, as many devotees mentioned earlier, we should assess properly that am I really doing that mistake. Probably we record and hear our own chanting also. That is one thing. Second thing, we can also take second opinion or guidance from another senior Vaishnavas and try to then come up with action item. But one thing is, if we be defensive, one big problem can happen. Devotees are very kind and in general very humble. Next time the person will not open up with us at all. He will say that, all right, whatever is there, it is between that devotee and Krishna. I better don't get into offend that devotee and upset that devotee. So for that devotees communication channel, for us to stay open, we can always be forthcoming, at least be receptive, and what action we need to take, we can decide by assessing it properly. Action in terms of fixing that fault, not to counteract that devotee.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. And I'll tell you one thing, Mataji, there are so many episodes within our own life. If we look back, we would have never improved in our life if we did not have critical feedback from few people. You know, in Marathi, there is a very nice saying which says, Nindakache ghar asave shezari, which means that we should have a critic living in next door. Why? Because if we have a critic in our day-to-day life, we would always be on the edge and try to improve. If everybody is always saying that we are so nice and we are all perfect, how will we improve, right? So that they are really helping us to stay on right track. So I'm Hare Krishna. Maybe one, that's fine. So one last example we will see here is of a devotee who did not even commit a wrong, but still he accepted it as his mistake. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srivas Thakur. There were a few Brahmins in Navadip so envious of Srivas Thakur because of nocturnal kirtan, night-long kirtan that were held in Srivas Thakur's home by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and devotees, where the admission was restricted only to the pure devotees and associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So some of the Smarta Brahmanas, they were very offended because of not getting entry into Srivas Thakur's place. And one such envious Brahmana, he actually put the paraphernalia of Kali worship, which means untouchable food like meat and all, and liquor items on the road in front of Srivas Thakur's place. And when Srivas Thakur found out that early in the morning after opening the door and the gate, Srivas Thakur did not defend. In fact, he started calling out people and telling them, look what I do in the name of Harinam. In the name of nocturnal kirtans, this is what I am doing, the Kali Puja. And all the people, they definitely knew the sincerity of Srivas Thakur's service, and they immediately cleansed the place of those untouchable items. And Srivas Thakur did not get any blame at all. On the other hand, the person, Gopala Chappal, who did this offense to Srivas Thakur, he subsequently contracted leprosy and was severely chastised by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the point is, a devotee, one more lesson to learn is, if we are sincere, Krishna will always let the things evolve which are good for our spiritual upliftment and spiritual advancement. So we should never think that if the misinformation, apakirti, if it spreads, then it would be difficult for me. Ideal platform is nothing will spread unless Krishna allows it. So we have to be very firm in our faith and take it in a right perspective. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu, I just have one doubt. Can I ask right now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, with reference to Prabhupada or Lord Shiva, I understood clearly, like he admitted what he did. With respect to Prabhupada, what he has actually told is he tried to refix the issue which he had by remarrying, and the father advised. So, so what do we infer, Prabhu? That is openly declare. I mean, that was still not wrong, no, Prabhu, like what Prabhupada thought, or was it wrong and it was corrected? I did not really get that grip of it, Prabhu, if you can explain.
That is one way of looking at things, how Srila Prabhupada's father taught. Basically, Srila Prabhupada's father, one thing we know from Prabhupada's writing, he was a pure devotee of the Lord, Gaur Mohan De, and whose aspiration was for his son to be a pure servant of Srimati Radharani. And through the astrologers who had seen the horoscope and all had also informed Gaura Mohan De that your son will subsequently go on to render great services unto Lord Krishna, unto Srimati Radharani. So Gaur Mohan De had this idea. He did not want his son to get into a setup which would make it complicated for him or pull him in the family life lifelong. So he wanted to keep it very Hare Krishna, 1 second.
I'll mute Prabhu.
Okay. He wanted to keep it very suitable circumstance for his son to gradually retire from family life when the right time comes. Of course, we cannot know Gaur Mohan De's mind, but we can definitely know based on how Prabhupada explained it. And Prabhupada subsequently does admit how his father's decision was correct. Prabhupada mentioned that because of his, one of the prime trigger for Prabhupada to retire from family life and take up Krishna consciousness service full time, giving up his business and all, was his wife's non-cooperation. One time, the last trigger happened is when his wife sold the commentary, many hundreds of pages of Prabhupada's writings, commentary on Bhagavad Gita, she sold in scrap to buy the biscuits and the tea. And subsequently, Abhay Babu asked wife, do you want me or you want tea? And the wife, probably in a joking way, replied that I want tea. And Prabhupada used it as a message from Lord Krishna. Enough is enough. Let's proceed now.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So let us proceed. Any other devotees have any question on this important aspect of the compassion of the great souls, by whose mercy so many instructive lessons are there in Bhagavatam, and in what mood we should approach those lessons, not to minimize their position, but improve our own Krishna consciousness. If we judge great souls, our fall down is 100% sure. We don't want to do that. We should learn our lessons from these examples. Hare Krishna. Let me quickly see that.
Sorry to disturb. Can I say something? Prabhuji,
Yes.
actually, we come across with, in our general day-to-day routine life, we come across with even non-devotees in our office or other people who actually keep judging our gods, demigods as well. Recently, one incident happened wherein one of my friends, he was saying that, the devatas like Indra, they enjoy all somras and all the apsaras dances in their Swargaloka, then how they are at the position of demigod, which I could not answer it properly, Prabhuji. So, like they are devotees, the demigods as well.
See,
but how this
contradict? We have to be very careful in such circumstances. Either we defend the position of that devotee, or we better conclude that conversation, but we should not entertain it for long. One thing we can understand about Indra is at the position of Indra because of his qualifications in terms of perfectly following the Varnashram duties, so on and so forth. Now, in the exalted position of Indra, yes, it is definitely true, mentioned in the Shastras, that sometimes he gets enamored by material enjoyment and so on. But one important thing I heard in class about Govardhan Leela is, my own spiritual master mentioned how many times in our own life we have false pride, and Krishna personally arranges to crush that false pride. Krishna doesn't need to bother to personally intervene. Krishna's energies are sufficient for us to for a lesson to be taught to us, right? Krishna usually deals through his energies. But Indra is such a special soul that time and again, even when there are distractions, there are diversions in the discharge of his duties, Krishna personally arranges in a way to purify him and through him drive a lesson for all of us to imbibe. So this is definitely a service which Indra is rendering. You will agree, Prabhuji, that first of all, he is not shying away from his mistake. He's admitting the mistakes. Like in the Abhishek, which Indra conducted through Airavat, bringing Surbi cow with him, he admitted his mistake to Lord Krishna and felt ashamed for his error in judgment. So we should look that particular quality of the devotee. He may be a Sakama Bhakta, but what is my position? My position is even more fallen than that. At least I can learn this lesson from him and uplift myself in my spiritual life rather than judging him and falling down in my own spiritual life. So one thing is for sure, he may be a Sakama Bhakta, but definitely is a special Sakama Bhakta about whom Lord Krishna cares. And as long as Lord Krishna cares, we should also care. We should not minimize the position. Is that all right, Ajit Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So we proceed. I'm just worried bit about time today, but these are very important lessons. So we don't want to rush through. 1 second. How many shlokas did we recite till now? Only 2? So let's
Yes,
go.
Prabhu, two.
Yes, Prabhu, 2.
Let's go through the subsequent shlokas. So in the interest of time, I will read some English portion. Okay, we won't recite each and every Sanskrit text, but the important text we will recite Sanskrit one. Then Vyasadeva continues his inquiry. 1 second. O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after the initiation? And how did you attain this body? That means the current transcendental body which Narada Muni has. Having quit your old one in due course. So, Srila Vyasadeva desired Narad Muni to disclose all these facts for not only his lessons, but for everyone's satisfaction and lessons. O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. Who is telling this? Vyasadeva is telling to Narada Muni. Time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter which happened prior to this day of Brahma is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time? So Vyasadeva is expressing his amazement. How does Narad Muni remember of his past life, which happened not earlier day, but earlier Kalpa, earlier day of Lord Brahma, which is many billions of years long. How long is the period? I know Brahma's duration is 311 trillion 400 billion years divided by 36,500. How long is one day of Brahma? Can anyone mention if you have on top of your mind? It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter.
432, Prabhu.
4.32 billion, correct. 4.32 billion years long is one day of Brahma, and Vyasadeva is expressing his amazement. How did Narad Muni remember something which happened 4.32 billion years? And it is not just the time between that day and today, there is also annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation and new creation by Brahma. So all this has happened. How people, we don't even remember what exactly I was doing 24 hours back, then how can you remember what happened in the previous day? So he's expressing his amazement. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that how a spirit is not annihilated even when the body is annihilated. And Narada Muni, because of the spiritual consciousness he had achieved by the mercy of the Lord and the Bhakti Vedantas, he became a Trikalagya. Trikalagya, what was the word that I had mentioned in our exam? Amoghadruk. Like Vyasadeva is glorified by Narada Muni as Amoghadruk, which means who can see before, after, past, present, future. Similarly, Narada Muni also attained that stage because of the mercy of Lord Krishna and Bhakti Vedanta.
Prabhuji, Amogdrik means who has a perfect vision.
Yeah, perfect vision, that means he can see what is going to happen even in future. So that is the quality of Vyasadeva which Narada Muni glorifies. So now this verse is important. We will go through the verse, text 5, and we will ask one of the devotees who had raised their hands. 1 second. 165. Who wants to recite? Divya Rukmini Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 1.6.5 Srimad Bhagavatam 1.6.5 Narada Uvacha
Narada
Uvacha
Bhikshubhir Vipravaside
Bhikshubhir Vipravasite
Vijnana
Vijnana
Deshbhir Mama
Vijnana
Deshbhir
Mama
Vartamano Vyavasyadye
Vartamano
Vyavasyadhe
Tada Edat Agarasam
Tada
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. And the translation?
Sri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Purport, the
Prabhu,
highlighted.
can you screen share as well, Prabhu?
Oh, I'm not doing
Purport?
screen share.
No, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
No, no, it's there, Prabhu. We can see.
You can see. Oh, sorry. Then I've
Oh,
not.
so maybe let me stop and again share. 1 second. Hold on. Yeah, check now. Rasaragini Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Now it's coming. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Divya Rukmini Mataji, go through.
In his previous life, when Naradji was impregnated with a spiritual knowledge by the grace of great sages, there was a tangible change in his life, although he was only a boy of 5 years. That's an important symptom visible after imitation by the bona fide spiritual master. Actual association of devotees brings about a quick change in life for spiritual realization. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we see here the special circumstances which Narada Muni was into, which specifically brings about the glories of devotional service. And what were those special circumstances? How devotional service cannot be interrupted by any of these limitations which apparently Narada Muni had in his life. What were some of the limitations? Firstly, he was a very young boy. So being a young boy, one may say that one is more moldable, one is more open to receive the instructions, follow, but at the same time, one's understanding is not definitely grown as much. But in scriptures, we have so many examples of so many great 5-year-old devotees who all are 5-year, who were 5-year at some point.
Dhruva Maharaj,
Prahlad Maharaj.
Dhruv Maharaj.
And these young children are so inspiring because probably Krishna knows our nature, that people in general adore young children. Whatever a young child says, everybody likes to listen and be very attentive to. So Lord is also trying to teach through these examples of great young devotees how age-wise they may be young, but still their realization-wise they became so matured at such a young age. So age-wise, Narada was just a 5-year-old boy. Second thing, his birth was in a very humble circumstance as that of a son of a maidservant. Then circumstances in which he was living, it is specifically mentioned very graphically. We will see in text 6 to 8. In coming 3 texts, we will see how Narad Muni's mother was in a completely helpless situation. She wanted to give the best to her son, but her means were not sufficient to offer him best possible facilities. and her characteristics are also mentioned in the 3 verses. So circumstances were very trying for Narad Muni when he was growing up. He was born as the poor son of a maid servant with not much facilities. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport, just like what Mataji just read, that an important symptom of a devotee who has received the mercy of the Lord is the transformations that are visible after that devotee gets intimate association of the great souls, like it happened in the case of Narada. So we'll proceed to the next 3 texts. Now these 3 texts we will read and discuss together in one go. So any devotee would like to read through only, okay, read through the both the verse and the translation. No need of purport. Rasa Ragini Radhika Mataji, Hare Krishna. Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji, you read the next text. We'll go in this order.
Hare Krishna. Shloka also or just the text, Prabhu?
You can read the shloka.
Hare Krishna.
1 second.
That was clear only.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Ekatmaja me janani yosinmuda cha kinkari mayatmaje nanya gato chakre snehanubandhanam.
Hare Krishna. And many words in these 3 verses are very important, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. While I have put it in the slide, I also request you to make a note in your own copy of Bhagavatam. So Ekat Maja, Narad Muni is graphically now describing how his situation was very peculiar, where he was the only son of his mother. So the son had nobody else in her life, and the young child had nobody else but the mother in his life. Ekat Maja me janani, of that mother I was the only child. And what were the characteristics of the mother? The 3 characteristics are mentioned as Yoshin, Muda, and Kinkari. Yoshin means she was woman, so she had those characteristics, including being very simple, not very diplomatic and all. And she was Muda. Now don't get offended. Muda not exactly doesn't mean foolish, it means ignorant. She was a simple lady who was not aware of many things, how to raise or make a good life for her son. So she was ignorant, very simple lady. Ignorant, and Kinkari. Kinkari means she was a maid servant. She had a very humble background. So I was the only son of my mother who was not only a simple woman, but a maid servant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. So this word is very important. Sneha Anubandhanam. Imagine a situation where a 5-year child has nobody else than the mother and vice versa, and the mother is bringing up the child in a very difficult circumstances. How much the knot of affection between the child and the mother will become strengthened. It will become very, very strong. So let us see what happens next. So this is like of course, we can't compare it to the material movie, but you can consider a spiritual motion picture which Narad Muni is demonstrating in front of our eyes. So try to visualize whatever Narad Muni is giving the hints. Who was the next devotee? Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Shashvatantrana kalpase yokakshemam mamechati ishayahi vashe loko yoshadharumai yataha.
Translation.
She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but she was not independent. She was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord, and therefore everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So Narad Muni is explaining that the mother, as natural mother, she wanted to offer the best to the child, but she did not have facilities. And we can imagine there would have been a time where child would have demanded something as a playful boy, but mother could not afford to get it. And it must have been so distressful, or the child would have asked for some food, which was not easily available. The mother couldn't afford. So we can imagine the hardships and the difficult times the mother would have had while raising up the child, and how intimate that affection between the mother and the child would have been. So we'll have one more. Namita Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
Verse 8.
Mhm.
Aham pratat brahmakule ushivam stadupekshaya digdesha kala vyupanno balaka panchahayanaha. Translation. When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands.
Hare Krishna. Go through one more. Hang on. Yes, one more verse we have. Who are the other devotees? Somebody who has not read at all so far. Vipin Vilas Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम
Dandos Prabhuji.
एकाद निर्गताम गेहाद. Shall I read or?
Yes, you can recite. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. एकदा निर्गता गेहाद
Hare Krishna. Let Prabhuji recite. Yeah.
सर्पो दर्शात् पादस्पर्शः कृपाणां कालकौर्दितः. Translation. Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on a leg by a serpent, influenced by supreme time. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. So now, in contrast to this setup that Bhaktivedantas have come, taught about transcendental knowledge, pure devotional service to Narada Muni, and in circumstances where the boy has nobody but the mother and vice versa, both are intimately tied in affection because of not having anybody else in their life, we see the, what is it called, contrast or climax has happened, and Narad Muni's only shelter, the mother, was taken away by Lord Krishna, having bitten by a serpent while she was going one evening to milk the cow. And Srila Prabhupada, now this is very important part of how what is a pure devotee's perspective of looking at the things versus an ordinary man's perspective. So maybe we'll first discuss the second part. How would an ordinary man look at it, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, if this episode is brought to this stage? What would be the conclusion of an ordinary person if he understands that only shelter of that child is taken away?
God is cruel to him.
Yes. One will criticize God. Shama Gopika Mataji, Hare Krishna.
That we are the most and the most unfortunate person, and God has done very big injustice to me. And
yeah, one would naturally think that God is very unjust. He is very cruel that only this shelter the child had. And imagine a 5-year-old boy. They can't even manage their one-time food without the support of parents. And this child is left on his own, right? So that is the way of looking at the things in a materialistic manner. But a pure devotee's way of looking at the things, monitor the first lines of Srila Prabhupada's purport for the coming few verses, and you will find all the first lines of the purports are punch lines. So pure devotee is looking at it as that is the way of dragging a sincere soul nearer to God. The poor boy was being looked after only by his affectionate mother, and yet the mother was taken away from the world by the supreme will in order to put him completely at the mercy of the Lord. So it is explained that, was it here or in other session, when Mataji had recently asked a question. Hare Krishna. Radhika Mataji, just help with the background, Mataji.
I'm doing that, Prabhu.
So there was a question recently about one Mataji asking, I think it was in the morning Bhagavatam class, about Krishna not stopping Yudhishthir Maharaj when he went on losing in gambling and kept on betting. Why didn't he lose? So many a times Krishna's way of looking at things is at a much larger picture, in a bird's eye view, whereas our way of looking at the things is at a local, two-dimensional way. So similarly, the lesson is whatever sometimes we may find in our own life, why Lord has acted in a particular way, we should always give ourselves some time and give some time for Krishna to reveal his plan. And if we are faithful to Krishna, we will see from Narad Muni's life how success is guaranteed. What is the way of a devotee's way of looking? So these are the things we saw. How Narad Muni's mother's characteristics, we saw how she was a kinkari, she was a woman, and she was ignorant. Yes, how does one deal with reversals in our life? So one way we just heard from devotees is we become judgmental. We consider Krishna as unjust, as being very cruel. What are the other ways, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, of people looking at the reversals? What do they do? Hare Krishna.
Something like people think on the lines of, why is it happening only to me? I'm already in such a bad position, and how down can I go?
Yes, so people also think, why me? Why not somebody else? And this question also always comes whenever reversals come, but not when Lord awards us something. Sada Tushta Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, in line to Mataji said, first thing we do is we question the Lord, that we are doing so much of service, we are doing so much of bhakti, why me?
Yes.
So we always question the Lord when situation is going bad. And whenever it is going good, we feel we are the doer, we are doing, I am great. That is what comes to us, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
And this is still within the devotee setup. Consider somebody a materialistic person. People take shelter of intoxicants. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. For the liquor, all these intoxicants, they will go with it. Yeah.
People will take to intoxication, drug addiction, so many other types of addictions, and they will try to Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They will try to take shelter of everything else but Krishna, trying to get out of these difficult times. Or even worst is sometimes people, they take wrong association to share their heart and get into all bad habits. Sometimes people even commit suicide. They find, and I want to share in this group a very positive aspect about why one should never go for this method. And I felt so nice that I felt it should be spread at all different forums where to help people. Sometimes people have a feeling that suicide is an easy end to the miseries or the sufferings. But I heard one class on Hare Krishna TV, which is ISKCON TV channel on YouTube, that if one takes the path of suicide, the amount of duration a person needs to stay in this material world, in the ghostly body, minimum it is 10 to 50 times our natural life. Say, for example, if I am supposed to live 70 years, 60 years, 80 years, but if I do any such action, I will have to reside in that ghostly body minimum for 600 to 700 years. So it is not that the suffering is going to end. It is that for a longer period of time, we are in soup. We won't come out easily. This is one thing. Second thing, the free will gets limited to a great extent. In a human form of life, at least we have means to take shelter of the Lord, to chant for the Lord, to associate with devotees, perform Krishna consciousness, and try to get out of the difficult times. We have some free will. But once we give up this gross body, we are completely at the mercy of the material nature. Simply having to wait can't accelerate our liberation. Whatever we are able to do now, that is the only choice. If we are in a ghostly body, we can simply desire but can't implement it that easily. There will be few exceptions, like say for example, Gokarna liberating his stepbrother Dhunkari, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur liberating the ghost. They are exceptions, but in general, person will be forced for a very long time in a helpless situation. So that is never an answer. A devotee should know it for sure. Never go for that. So these are some of the means in which we saw how materialistic people, they tend to deal with the reversals. Vis-a-vis this, we will see how a great devotee of the Lord, Narada Muni, considered this reversal in his own life. So maturity of Narada Muni in accepting the reversals presented by the Lord. And for us, it may seem like a story, but imagine Narada Muni's mindset. For a 5-year-old, even if we imagine ourselves in Narada Muni's situation, we will feel so frightened with the prospect of leading our own life with nobody to take shelter of as a 5-year-old. Mostly we will see कि अभी बचना मुश्किल है, it is very difficult to survive. Consciousness of an advanced soul in looking at the things, looking at the reversals in this material world. We'll see through few examples. So let's go through few verses first. Any questions, comments, Prabhuji, so far? Rohini Mataji, you wanted to share something?
Yes, Prabhuji, one doubt. For him to get such an understanding at this young age, did he remember his past life or?
Yes. So you mean, did he remember his past life as a maid servant or now, Narada Muni now?
No, in his past life as a maidservant's son, at that time, did he remember why he got into such position?
No, only his impetus was the learnings he got from the Bhakti Vedantas, nothing else. Only that was. And Narad Muni will explicitly mention how the learnings from Bhakti Vedantas guided him at every step later on. We'll come to that. Okay. Hare Krishna. So, mature way to look at reversals, we saw Srila Prabhupada's punchline in the purport. The reversals are, why does Lord Krishna arrange them? They are a way of Lord Krishna dragging a sincere soul nearer to him. That is the real reason why the reversals take place. And there are so many wonderful verses, especially the famous one being, there are 2-3 verses. One is Lord Krishna's instruction to Yudhishthir Maharaj. This is an important verse. So we will recite once. Please try to repeat. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Yasyaham Anugrihnami.
Yasyaham Anugrihnami.
Harishe Tat Dhanam Shanai.
Harishe Tat Dhanam Shanai.
Tato Dhanam Tyajati Asya. Swajana Dukkha Dukkhitam. So Krishna is saying that whoever he gives his special mercy, Anugrannami means special mercy of the Lord. Whoever he grants his special mercy, he takes away everything which probably the person can take shelter of. Why he does so? Because when everything that is materially very lucrative for the person is taken away, then his own near and dear ones, they give up his company. And in that helpless situation, the person has nobody else to take shelter of but the Supreme Lord. So don't get scared of this verse. This is not for ordinary person, Tom, Dick, Harry. This is for a very exalted soul that Krishna shows his special mercy. Krishna will never give a 12th class examination to a first class student. That much faith we should have. So don't get scared. But that is the way of Krishna giving his very, very special mercy to his pure devotees like Narada Muni in this case, like Pandavas, where he took everything just to increase their love and surrender to Lord Krishna. I have also given example of Srila Prabhupada. We were discussing a while ago. His wife was not very supportive in Krishna consciousness. Not only that, so family-wise, things were not supportive. You will be surprised to know Prabhuji's Mataji's. Prabhupada used to chant his 16 rounds in 4 different breakdowns on the staircase of his home. Can you imagine how much fortunate we are that at least we have a peaceful home to chant our rounds? Prabhupada wife was, there was so much lack of support. He felt it easy to chant outside home, sitting on the staircase, 4 rounds at a time, at 4 different times during the day. Not only that, when the right time came, when Krishna really wanted Abhay Babu out of the family life and completely dedicated to his service, we find that Prabhupada business collapsed. Prayag Pharmacy, which was the pharmaceutical business Abhay Babu was running, his employees, they committed a fraud and Prabhupada was cheated and his entire business collapsed. Subsequently, not 1 time or 2 times, but 6 different times, if we count in Prabhupada's life, he tried to restart the business, but Krishna arranged for failure every single time. And reflecting on this particular verse, Prabhupada writes, there is a mention in Leelamrit that reflecting on this particular verse, Prabhupada laughed laughed in a way that how Krishna is arranging specially all these circumstances so that I am left with nothing else to take shelter of but Lord Krishna himself. And Narada Muni specifically is using a word. Let me see. This is in text number 10. So we will recite this text. Shama Gopika Mataji, you wanted to recite?
Okay, so Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Tada tad aham ishasya.
Tada tad aham ishasya.
Bhaktanam sham abhipsatah.
Bhaktanam sham abhipsatah.
Anugraham manyamanah.
Anugraham manyamanah.
Pratishtham dishamuttaram.
Pratishtham disham uttaram. So there are few words in this verse which are very significant. Narad Muni is revealing to Vyasadeva. How is he describing Krishna? Bhaktanam sham abhipsitaha. Abhipsataha, sorry, not sitaha. Abhipsataha. So word to word translation of this word, Prabhupada mentions as Lord is always desiring special benedictions upon his devotees. That means Lord Krishna is always the benefactor, always the well-wisher of his devotees. It is not that Krishna wants us to suffer. Please remove that misconception. Another thing that is mentioned by Narada Muni is Anugraham Manyamanaha. He considered that particular situation which occurred where his mother died due to snake bite as the special mercy of the Lord. And we will see one example to see how these great souls, they take decisions with lot of maturity, thought process, and not impulsively. Because even when a person can come to right conclusions and realizations, if that realization happens very late, then that realization is of less use, not much use. Like we see in the story of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was offended by his stepmother, Suruchi. And more painful for him than his stepmother's offense was his father's staying silent. He looked at his father and expected him to defend himself and say that Dhruva is also my child, let him sit on my lap. His father stayed quiet and Dhruva Maharaj felt very, very hurt. And when Dhruva Maharaj came to his own mother, Suniti, what was Suniti's first instruction? First thing Suniti did was to prevent any malice from coming into the heart of Dhruva Maharaj. She said that, my dear Dhruva, whatever unjust may happen in our life, always remember one thing is that we should never think bad for anybody else. We should never have any malice for anybody else, even if they have misbehaved. And second thing, then she brought Dhruva to the platform of acceptance. She said, it may sound very bitter, very painful, my dear son, but whatever your stepmother has told is very true, that she is the pet wife of your father, And because of that, only that child which will be born out of her womb can sit on your father's lap. So it may be very painful, but that is the truth, that is the reality. And subsequently, she guided Dhruva Maharaj towards path of Krishna consciousness. She said that I am one mother and you feel so much affection, love from me. My dear son, Krishna can give the love, affection, and care of millions of such mothers. So you better take shelter of Krishna. I know I have my limitations. I cannot bring you justice, but that person can really give you complete satisfaction and can pacify your burning heart. So you better take shelter of Lord Krishna. And in this way, Dhruva's own mother became his Patha Pradarshaka Guru. And her response at that time was correct response at the right time. Whereas we see Dhruva Maharaj's father, Uttanapad, it so happens that after Dhruva Maharaj leaves the place and goes to the forest, Uttanapad starts lamenting that it is only due to my mistake that even when my young son was being offended in a very painful way, I did not defend him. And because of my attachment to this lady, I continued to let him get hurt. And now you see he's in such a great difficulty. I don't know how he will survive the cruel animals within the forest. And he starts lamenting. But that lamentation, although of course it is purifying, it came a bit late. If he would have come to that understanding when Dhruva Maharaj was still there, probably Dhruva would have still not left the home. But subsequently, it did help Uttanapad Maharaj to come to this realization, because it is mentioned gradually when Dhruva Maharaj came back home, Uttanapad Maharaj, he became so repentant. He handed over the kingdom to Dhruva, begged forgiveness. And even before Dhruva Maharaj settled in his family life, even before he got married, Uttanapad had already left home to accept the renounced order of life. So coming back to the point, a pure devotee of the Lord like Suniti, she did not see the insult to her son as something unjust. She was receptive. She did guide her son on a path by which he can be pacified, but she did not say that what happened with you was wrong, because that would have definitely brought out the feeling of revenge in Dhruva Maharaj's heart if she had not corrected that feeling. Because we learn in Bhagavatam 4th canto, Dhruva Maharaj, he was breathing heavily because of being a staunch Kshatriya, like a serpent who was trampled upon by somebody. So in that state, if Suniti did not pacify Dhruva Maharaj, he would have definitely been driven by lot of revenge, and which would have been very harmful for his own self. So Prabhuji's, Mataji's, I think I took bit longer today. There is an important part of discussion coming through, but I don't want to rush. We will continue next time around. Is there any question, comment? We saw quite a few lessons today. Can we request devotees to revise one by one what all lessons we saw, which we can apply in our own life based on example of Narad Muni, other great souls? Hare Krishna. Anyone you recollect? Sadhatushta Achyuta Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we started with text 1 and 2, in which Srila Vyasadeva inquires to his spiritual master Narada Muni. Okay, so which says Sad Dharma Pracha. It's a desire
Yes.
to inquire from the spiritual master. It is to follow his footsteps.
Yes.
So this is one thing we started with.
It's very nice to inquire, learn about spiritual masters so that we can follow their footsteps and uplift ourselves. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes.
This was one thing. Anything else? Shama Gopika Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, we have learned how we should take critics in a positive manner and not be defensive. And
Yes.
yeah, we learn from our mistakes.
Yes, we learn from our mistakes, and we should also learn from the examples given in the scriptures without minimizing the position of those great souls.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Prema Priya Jayashri Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We learned how to deal with our reversals in life, Prabhuji.
Yes. How should we deal with the reversals? We should
We have
look at
to
them as
we have to, spiritualize, look at it in a spiritual way, Prabhuji. It all is done with the will of the Lord, and we have to, and He'll help us out.
Yes, whatever happens, happens by the will of the Lord, and we should better surrender to that will and see, as you rightly mentioned, what is His way out for us. What does He want me to learn out of this, rather than trying to fight it out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other points? We have many devotees who have not spoken at all. Manas Raut Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Gunashri Mataji, Lalita Vinodini Mataji, my apologies, Mataji. I had seen your hand one time for verse.
So I normally read. No, this one more point I had written in
Yes,
fourth verse. Time annihilates everything in the due course.
Time, come again, time.
Time annihilates everything on the due course.
Yes.
So that's an important point which I felt and had written.
Thank you, Mataji. Adi Dev Gopesh Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Any thoughts?
Prabhuji, I wrote devotional service cannot be interrupted by material conditions.
Yes, that also we saw in Narad Muni's case. Yes, Prabhuji, Murli Prabhu, go ahead.
Narad Muni, he was young. He was very young, 5 years old. He was born to not in an affluent family, but to a woman who was ignorant, and also had less resources, but still he was able to get over all those things.
Yes, and ultimately to top out all that is that shelter also got lost. So
shelter also was lost. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Adi Dev Gopesh Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. You wanted to share something, Prabhuji? I saw your hand. Gunashri Mataji. Gita Pradeep.
Deva is not able to unmute.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, the compassion of great souls.
Compassion of the great souls. Yes. Yes. Compassion of the great souls in giving Krishna consciousness without any discrimination, without any judgment to everyone. Rohini Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. From Dhruv's mother, at least we can learn that we should not have any malice towards people who actually find faults or degrade us or try to hurt us in any way, and neither malice towards God, whatever position He puts us in.
Yes. So having a positive outlook even in difficult circumstance. Accepting rather than fighting it out. Usha Kamat Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We also saw how Srila Prabhupada emulated all the qualities of, his of these transcendental souls.
Yes, Mataji. So we saw Srila Prabhupada's own life, how he took his wife's non-cooperation, how he took the failure of his business ventures. So that was very instructive. And again, we don't want to minimize any of the family members of Srila Prabhupada, because based on his spiritual strength, they would have definitely all attained a very nice destination. I remember Srila Prabhupada's youngest son, Vrindavan Day, he passed away recently. Recently means last 3-4 years back, around 2018-19 or even later, last 2-3 years. So they would have all definitely achieved very good destination. But just that for Prabhupada to be given to us, Krishna needed to arrange. If Prabhupada's wife was all good, we would have never got ISKCON probably, right? So we should be grateful and never minimize their importance. Vipin Vilas Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I like to share the 2-3 examples like Sant Tukaram and Sant Eknath and Darsi Mehta. So all three having the wives of different characteristic actually. Sant Tukaram and Eknath was total, but still they were never complaining, and they have used that one. It is very good supportive for the Krishna consciousness. So in same way, when Narsi Mehta's wife expires, he told that Bali Bhangi Janjal. So now I can go very fast toward the Lord.
Yes. So one request, Matajis, don't feel offended. Okay, it is just we are discussing how a devotee looks at any circumstance Lord has put him into as a how he can utilize that circumstance to further devotional service. Hare
Prabhuji, we
Krishna.
should add here not about wives, but about the spouse. 'Cause
Spouse,
the
spouse.
Yes.
True.
Pure Mirabai, Prabhuji, Mirabai.
Mirabai, yes, thank you. Maybe we'll have one last comment. Prem Prakash Haridas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When a devotee is put in a difficult situation, that situation, if it is more difficult, Krishna is actually creating a path which is clearer to reach him faster.
Yes. Yasyaham anugrinnami harishetar dhanamshan. And just like this instruction by Suniti to Dhruva Maharaj, that Krishna can give the love and care of thousands, millions of mothers. Nobody can care for us as nicely as Krishna. So one should have that faith. So thank you all, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. This episode is very intense.
Prabhu, I have a small question.
Yes,
If I may
Prabhuji.
ask.
Yes, Prabhuji.
You mentioned about the composer of Venkatesh Suprabhatam.
Yes,
Who is
Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra.
with the common literature? It says some other name, Prabhu.
Okay,
14
but
century
that's
some
what I have heard. That's what I have heard. Some other devotees can also comment if you are aware. How
No,
Vishwa.
his name is Anand Prabhu. He composed it in 1361.
Sure. So I will again come back, check and come back, Prabhuji. Okay.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any other question, comment by any devotees?
Prabhu, don't end the meeting, please. Last
Sure,
5, 6 slokas pending for me. That's all.
Sure, sure. So
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, one thought which I thought of sharing now. We have completed chapter 5. If you are able to get the results, we will know where we
Sure.
stand and any
It is in
improvements we need
progress.
to do.
It is in progress, Prabhuji. Just today also I communicated on that earlier. So it is coming, Prabhuji.
Okay. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one more question, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
This when we upload the file, we don't know whether it has been uploaded properly or not. Yes. So
We can
is
do
there a
one.
way?
There is a way in while creating the Google form. Probably I'll ask Rohini Mataji to choose an option where you will get an email of your own response.
Yes.
So that is an acknowledgement. Yeah.
That would be great, Prabhuji, because otherwise I'm always in doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
At present, it is not active, Prabhuji. We need to activate that.
Yes, we have to activate that. Results. Yes, Prabhuji, I saw the message. Thank you all very much. So I have made Rasa Ragini Mataji the host now. I have also stopped the live streaming. So Vamcha Kalpa Taru Bhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Pati Tanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrindaki Jai Vaishnav Thakur ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Adidev Prabhu, I'll come back, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Audio was very clear, Prabhu, today.
Yes, Mat. So I've consciously made sure that I don't reduce the volume. I'll keep it high, Mataji. Okay?
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Just thought I'll tell you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So everyone can log out, but morning, I think 3 students were pending. Can I request them to stay? One is Radhika Mataji. Next one is Priyadarshini Mataji. And I can't recall. I'm just going to mute. So I will be able to take for only 3 and the rest of us will meet next week.
Mataji, I was also waiting.
Devika Shri. Yes, you only.
Mataji,
I
me
was-
too. Me too, Mataji.
Who said me too?
Usha,
Mataji, fifth chapter uploaded, Mataji.
Ah, very nice. Mataji.
Fourth chapter pending.
No problem.
Fifth is also pending.
Mataji, I can't hear you. Some your voice disturbance.
Mataji, don't unmute Mataji.
I'm going to mute. Somebody is using multiple instruments. Request to unmute. Rest of them can log out. And Devika Mataji, you can start the oral.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I'm also.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I'm also waiting for the recitation.
Mataji, I have to leave actually. So most of you all, I think morning 3 of you all were there, no?
Yeah, I was also.
Okay, so you stay, but the rest of us, please leave. We'll connect again next week.
Can I do today?
I'll be leaving in 15 minutes. So whatever I can cover in 15 minutes, we'll do. 12:30, I have to leave. Radhika Mataji, you start first because yours 2 things were pending. So we'll finish that so that you can leave halfway through.
I finish it. Hare Krishna. Can I finish next week?
Yeah, go next week, Mataji. All those who want to go next week, you don't ask me my permission. You can definitely do that. Yes, Radhika Mataji, please complete.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
तद्वग्विसर्गो जनतागविप्लवा यस्मिन् प्रति श्लोकम् अभ्युतपति अपि नामानि अनन्तस्य यस्य यशोन्तिकानि यत् श्रवन्ति गयन्ति गृह्णाति साध्वा. So this is in contrast to the previous sloka, Mataji. The descriptions of the transcendental glories of the Lord, all the opulences, the name, fame, the pastimes, the which can glorify one person to get elevated from impurification state to a well civilized state. So such scriptures are accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord. Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Fine, Mataji. Thank you.
So last one.
Yeah, last one.
Yeah. Tyaktya swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajan avapyotapate tatho yati yatra kva vabhadram abhud amosya kim ko varta apto bhajantam swadharmata. Hare Krishna, sorry. So if a devotee, if he's taking off from the material things and if he's falling for some reason, that's when he's in an immature stage, that is, what do you say, it is not considered to be unsuccessful. But a person who is totally in the material life and now he's doing his duties to the fullest extent also, he's not considered as a successful. So the devotee being falling down for once, or the non-devotee doing everything perfect, he is not going to gain anything out of it, or the devotee is not going to lose anything. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Priyadarshini Mataji, you can shoot.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And that was, yeah. And Anyad Vachastirtha Padam Yashe Hare Yasho Jagat Pavitram Ushanti Pragranita Karhichit Tadvayasam Tirtham Ushanti Mamanasa Please wait, Mataji. Nayatra Hamsa Nirmanti Ushikshayaha. Now this verse refers to the importance of the words glorifying the Lord in every literature. Now that literature which does not contain the Lord's glorification is like a filthy place which attracts fruitive mundane people, which are actually spiritually dead people. Now they are compared to the crows. So it's the pilgrimage for the crows. That's the first one. And the second one, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Yasmin. Please wait, I'll tell you. Yasmin Pratishlokam Abadhavatyapi Manyanantasya Yashokitani Yat Shunvanti Gayanti Grunanti Sadhavo. Now this shloka speaks about the literature containing very nice words glorifying the Lord. Now such literature actually is sung, Shunvanti, remembered, sung, and accepted by the saintly people. And the third one is actually Tyaktva Swadharmatah Charnabhujam Hajer Abhajanna Pakvoha Pate Tatto Yadi Yatra Kva Vabhadramabhut Amushakim Kovarta Apto Bhajatam Swadharmatah. Swadharmatiya. Now this actually speaks about the people who are busy with, employed in different occupations. If they are not able to complete their, service towards the Lord because of their occupation, that there's no problem because they are in devotional service compared to the people who are just doing their occupation and not in devotional service. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very sincere efforts. Appreciate. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Devika Shetty Mataji. Hare Krishna. You can go next. Shama Mataji.
May I leave, Mataji?
Yeah, sure, Mataji. Please go ahead. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you very much. Thank you.
Start, Mataji.
Yeah, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Canto number 1, shloka number 5.10. Na yadvacha chitrapadam hariryesho jagat pavitram praganita kahirchit tadvayusam tirtha ushigmanasa na yatra hamsa nirmatya ushikshayaha. So those words which are not glorifying the Lord, are considered to be the pilgrim of crows. Crows. So one second, Mataji. Pilgrim of the crows.
Text okay, Mataji.
Okay.
Go to the shloka.
Yeah, no, I'll just complete.
Sure, sure.
Pilgrim of the crows. The pious and pure devotees will not get any kind of a pleasure out of that place. Okay. The next one is 5.11. Okay. Tadva visargo janathaga viplo yasmin pratishlokam abadya api namanyanantas eshonkitaki tad shrunvanti gayanti grunanti sadavaha. Okay, the literature which is full of glorifying the name, fame, pastime, etc. of the Lord, which can purify the whole universe. Those kind of literature, even though they are incomplete, can be accepted by the pure devotees. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, only I learned two.
No problem. Sure. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Devika Mataji, just one doubt actually. Can you, the last playlist, had one movie telecasted by him, that small clipping of Tukaram. I just was a little worried if it'll have a copyright issue. Can you just check and confirm to me?
Okay.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Shamla Gopi Mataji, alone stay. Rest of them I'll do next week. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So sorry about it. Hare Krishna. Yes, Shamla Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. First shloka is 1.5.10. Nayadvachachitrapadam hariryasho jagat pavitram pragranita karhichit tadvayasam tirtamushanti manasa arnayatra hamsa niramanti shikshayaha. So those words which do not glorify the transcendental qualities of the Lord is considered by the saintly persons to be a pilgrimage for crows. And the saintly persons do not take pleasure in them, who reside in the transcendental. The second one, 1.5.11. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namanyanantasya यशोऽङ्कितानि यत् शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवः. So, those, on the other hand, those literatures which describe the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes of the Supreme Lord, are actually created differently, and the transcendental, it has the power to actually bring a revolution in the impious lives of the misdirected civilization of the world. And these are sung, these are heard, sung, and accepted by the purified man who are thoroughly honest. And the third shloka is 1.5.17. त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजां हरेत् भजन्न पक्वोतपतेत् भजन्न पक्वोतपतेत् ततो यदि यत्र क्व वा भद्रमभूदमुष्य किम् अमुष्य किम् को वात्र आप्तो भजताम् को वात्र आप्तो भजताम् स्वधर्मतः. So, the material.
Mataji, your voice is very feeble.
Is it okay now?
No,
I
no,
think
it's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. So, the materially, even if the devotees do not stop performing the material occupation to engage in the devotional service, and they fall down because of the immaturity, but still they are successful. There is no danger in the path of devotional service. But the non-devotees, even if they fully perform the material occupation, there is no what? Okay.
Last line alone, can you repeat, Mataji? This one? Last line, not the shloka.
Yeah. Actually, there is no benefit for them. There is no.
No problem. Could not hear that. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.